All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Command Your Brand Show. I'm your host, Josh Silvestro, brand ambassador of Command Your Brand, where we help CEOs and founders get on top-rated podcasts. In this particular episode, we're going to be talking about something different. This one, we're going to be talking about our employees who work at Command Your Brand. And this particular person is one of our publicists. Now, she's an amazing mother of 3. She's done a lot of things on social media. She's kind of a well-known person on X, if you guys didn't know. But I want to deep dive more about that, how she balances family and Command Your Brand. So if you guys like this, before we get into today's conversation, please like and subscribe to this channel if you want to command your brand through the power of podcasts. All right? Enjoy the show. All right. So here we are. We're here back on the Command Your Brand show where we talk about, a lot of different things. And in this series, we're going to be talking about our next employee, which the last episode, if you recall, we did one on Jennifer Parisi, the director of sales. And now we're going to be going to our next person. And I would love to introduce you guys. She is an amazing mother of 3. We call her the Ohio girl for short. Just kidding. But she's from Ohio and she lives there currently. And she's also has a huge Twitter following. Actually, it's X now, so I'll probably get canceled for that. But anyway, so she is an amazing person. And she's I don't know, how would you describe your post? I guess it'd be, I know you're a publicist, but also you're head of onboarding, right?
Yeah, podcast publicist and head of client onboarding.
Awesome. Yep. Great. So I guess we'll just start from there. So I guess tell us a little bit about yourself, because, people want to know who Meghan is. Who is the life of Meghan? Let's give us the YouTube channel of what is Meghan's life like. So tell us a little about yourself.
My life is super crazy hectic. I actually didn't work for a long time. I hate to say I didn't work because I raised my kids. I'm still raising my kids, but they're all in school now. They're 7th, 5th, and 2nd grade. But I stayed home for many, many years raising them. But I had a degree in communications and public relations. So, but also went to cosmetology school. So I did hair for a while as well before I had kids. So, do it a little bit all, but now after, let me see, when did I graduate college? It's been a really long time. I'm a lot older than I feel like everybody. I graduated in 2007.
Okay.
And finally, after all these years of using, my degree, and it's actually something that I really love. So
really, wow, that's kind of interesting. I didn't know you're a hairstylist. That is the first that I've ever heard. I have a friend of mine who's a hairstylist, and it's like, but it's funny because he's a guy, so it's not like the same thing, And
yeah.
Is
he a barber or a hairstylist?
So he used to be a hairstylist, but it's funny, like he doesn't do it anymore. But he would tell me all these amazing stories about that. So it's just kind of funny. I was like, and that's why your hair looks so good, because you're a hair person.
Yeah,
so.
That's exactly why. Yeah. So while I was in college, I wanted to do hair too. So I did college full time, and I did cosmetology school part time at nights.
Wow.
3 nights a week and on the weekends. Just it was something else I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And so that's great. A little bit about me. And now I'm just a taxi driver to my kid. I literally am in the car from the time I'm done with work and they get home from school until, bedtime, pretty much running them around.
So you're pretty much a full-time mom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Besides working with us, but yeah, you're pretty much.
It never changes. Being a full-time mom, that obviously comes above all else. But it's that by far is the best thing I've ever done, is those 3 kids. But it's hard work, and anybody who doesn't say that it is lying, but it's also very rewarding. And as you know, Josh, I had to push this back because I had to run, but it never ends. I get a text from my 7th grader who, they usually wear t-shirts and stuff every day to school. And he actually wore a nicer shirt today because it was picture day.
Yeah.
And then he texts me in a panic, "Mom, I don't have a shirt for football," because he has football practice after. So he needed just a t-shirt. So, I had to clock out of work, run him his t-shirt, and come back to do this. So it's a never ending full-time
Yeah.
job.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's funny. On my last episode, Jen and I were talking, and what was funny, we were going over how it was to be a mother, because she had her own business and she like ran 3 kids and like was up all night taking care of them. Just the usual thing, right? And it's funny because you guys both have 3 kids. That's even funnier. But she has a little more because she has me. But like, it's funny is like, you just see how much work it takes just to raise kids. It's like amazing, like how you guys just like literally just like figure everything out, and like you don't even know how you're alive or like how you're managing, but somehow you're just like literally have kids just like doing what they're doing. Like you have to control the situation, and like now like here I am, like they're like in their teenage years.
Yeah, it's like they say, I forget the exact saying, but like little kids, little problems, big kids, bigger problems. And I'm right in between. So getting to the bigger, just it never stop worrying. Now that they're a little bit more independent and off in the world, and it's different when they're not at home and that they're safe and, they're in bed at 8:00 in their crib. And, so there's just different, cars. But it's actually funny that you brought that up about Jen, because I remember when I first started working here, she was like, and we were just, kind of getting to know each other. And she's like, I always say hire a mom because they'll multitask, they'll get stuff done. Like I literally don't know how I will get stuff done, but it somehow gets done. There's just no choice. Like,
right.
I'm like, we have 3 kids that have to be all at 3 different places at the same time. Like, how is this going to happen? And it somehow, works out. So, we're good at that. Can always figure something out, make it work if we have to.
Yeah. Like it's amazing. Like I was a rowdy kid, so I had to get whatever I wanted. Otherwise, that I would throw a tantrum. So I was amazed. My mom just put up with me. I'm surprised I was not ended up in a trash can or something, or something like really ridiculous, or a foster home.
Now you know why I'm so talkative, like in meetings and stuff, because for so many years, I was home with 3 little kids. I didn't have any adult interaction. People that go to work or anything, at least you have some adult interaction. I don't. So for me, I'm like, I get to talk to other humans that aren't my kids. This is great.
Yeah,
so,
that's great.
Yeah.
So I guess, my next thing, so on a different subject, so I'm just curious. So on Command Your Brand, so how did you end up at Command Your Brands? Like why Command Your Brand in the first place?
Well, I was looking, like I said, I was looking for anything, any, type of job, just because the kids were all in school, and I just kind of wanted something, a little bit for me. And, I was looking, I was like, I'll do anything. And then I was on LinkedIn, and Jeremy had, put up a post, and I forget exactly what was in it, but I was like, oh, we're going to get along. Like this is, I think it was something like, if you're not interested in this, or this, like, this isn't the place for you. And I was like, oh no, I'm interested in all of that. So I literally remember, like, that's what it was. And I was like, oh, this will be a perfect fit. And applied and interviewed with Jeremy. And then I thought I did horrible in the interview, by the way. I was like in tears after. I was like, I did not get this. And that day he was like, because he's like, we have to interview some more people. We'll let you know. And I was like, I did not get it. And then that same day, he's like, can you meet? I forget what day. And I'm going to have, my wife, Brielle, come meet you too. And then that second interview, they hired me, and the rest is history.
That's great. That's awesome. Just for people who are listening. So we actually, the whole Command Your Brand team actually went to Chicago to a special occasion that they all went. So it was basically, Jennifer, Brielle, Jeremy, and a few other people. and of course, my fiance. And, on the way, they went to Ohio and they actually met Meghan. So it was kind of funny that they're like on the way and they kind of met you. So that was really nice.
And it's so weird because you feel like, these people, we all feel like we know each other. I know you're closer in proximity to them. So you see them more, but you get attached to these people, or, I consider, Brielle, a good friend. I consider like Rebecca a friend. And it's funny because it's like we've met once, but we talk, I talk to them during the day more than anybody else. Yeah. But it was awesome to meet them in person. It was really great. And honestly, ever since I've, been with Command Your Brand, I think it's one of the most, and I don't even know how to word that, like ethical places I've ever worked at.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Do you have another guest lined up that's better than me?
No, I just they want to call me. They want to get on my podcast, so that's all it's all about.
People are banging down your door. I can say that I knew you back when.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
But it's really in this day and age to work for people that are genuinely good people. Like, I know that sounds, cliche, and I'm not trying to get them like, oh, let me keep my job because I'm giving you a compliment.
Yeah.
But they just really are, they do right by their clients. If something's not right, they make it right. They're not like, well, we have to, get it's not all about the money. And I think that when you have that kind of viewpoint in life and in business, that you are successful, because I think people see that. And I know, like, me as an employee, it only wants me to do better and work harder because I believe in them and their mission and everything so much more. So, yeah.
Totally. And I guess what I kind of want to deep dive into is, not that I'm going to post anything else about it, but you do have quite a huge following on X and on different platforms. People who are listening, some people struggle with actually getting people on their social media and like growing their audience, and you've probably been on it and you probably say some things that probably maybe you shouldn't say, or maybe you say things that you want to say really bad and somehow you just get a big following. Like, for those people that are trying to grow their audience, you can say, or trying to grow their social media, like, what do you suggest to those guys that would really help them like that? Like, how did you do it?
I don't know, because I didn't and people might not believe me, but I did not have a strategy. I did not do this, for a following. When I really started growing was like everybody, during COVID, my kids were affected by school closures. And I firmly believed that kids, needed to be in school. And that was not a popular opinion at the beginning of COVID.
Right.
And I was looking for like-minded people. And I've always been very outspoken, but it seemed like nobody was listening to me. I mean, I was, crunching numbers through like the Ohio Department of Health, like literally downloading files and trying to present to the school. And it was like, nobody was listening. So honestly, I think the thing about it was that I was just very real and authentic. Like, if you see something that I post, and obviously I know when to turn that off. Like, I'm not going to talk to a client in a way that I would say something on Twitter. Yeah. But if you asked my family, like, oh, is this like for shock value? Because I've been told like, oh, she said this, and it's just, to get a response. If you ask anyone who's known me forever, anybody, they would be like, no, that's Meghan would say that. Like, so I'm very authentic. I'm super sarcastic. I even something serious try to make a joke, but it really just it grew from me being me and trying to find like-minded people and speaking out about something that I really believed in that went against the narrative.
Right.
And then besides that, a couple of really dumb tweets that went viral, and Elon Musk replying to one of mine, which people saw and thought that, maybe she's someone because Elon Musk replied and grew it. So a lot of it was me, speaking out against the narrative. And a lot of it was just 3 or 4 really random, dumb tweets that blew up and then got a following from that.
That's interesting. It's actually really cool because, like, people who are on social media, like, they try really hard just so they can get attention. It's like almost like a child trying to like get attention from their parents when their parents are clearly busy, with other things. And and now I don't know if you watch a lot of the like YouTube stuff, like I'm finding it's interesting that people are trying to get away from their phones and away from social media. But it's like, it's almost a little hard to do because people are like, I have to have my attention span is so small that I have to grab their attention quick,
Yeah.
So it is kind of interesting that, you kind of make it into a fun way, but like you speak your mind about it and that's how you actually grow. You kind of grew it accidentally. You know what I'm saying?
Right. It was totally accidental. If you would have told me, I always laugh with people because like none of my really close friends have Twitter. So it's not even, nobody cares when I go about my day that, I have this following on Twitter because people outside don't know and don't care. And I always say like, what's wrong with the people that are following me? Like I'm just nobody. I was literally just a mom who was speaking out and being, I like I said, sometimes I take serious stuff and, joke, like, put it in a joking manner just because I feel like you've got to make light of things sometimes. And also I don't know if you knew this, Josh, but I'm one of 5 kids.
Wow.
I have 4 siblings.
Wow.
So, and I was the 4th out of 5.
Okay.
So if you wanted to, I had to do something to be recognized. So I was always the one, I don't want to say like fun. I hate giving myself compliment, but I was always the one being sarcastic, trying to make people laugh. That was always me in the family. I'm always making a joke or, making fun of something with my family. So that just kind of always has come, natural to me, and it kind of then funneled into Twitter a little bit.
Totally. And it's fine. I'm going to tell you something after this, but it's amazing that you are one of 5 because like I'm the only child in my family. So hands off to you because I must have been so troublesome that I must have been all 5 of them, So it's really amazing that someone can produce 5 children and still remain their composure. You know what I mean? So that's amazing.
I mean, my mom has the personality for it. I mean, 3, we're done. There's no more than 3, but I looked at her one day and I said, I don't know how you looked at the first 3 kids and thought, I think I just want 2 more. I'm like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
But she, you have to have the right personality for it. And she, was and is still an amazing mom. But you learn a lot about like compromise and trying to, but I had to stand out somehow. So I was always the one that was doing the joking around, being, an idiot and never caring kind of what people thought. If I did something silly, like how I didn't really care how I looked.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of, like I said, went over into Twitter. So nothing that I do is to grow an account. If I feel something, I say something, and that's it. And maybe people can sense that it's just me being real. I don't know.
Yeah, that's so interesting because I'll tell you something funny is I never really liked social media, to be honest, and that was like one of my biggest things. Like I never really got it. Like I thought it was cool to scroll here and there, but like for me to grow myself on a social media platform was like unreal to me. And what was funny was like I was like, all right, I'll give it a try. So I tried Twitter 3 times, not knowing that I made 3 different accounts. So I literally had the other day I was signed in and I have 3 different Twitter accounts. 2 of them are Twitter, the other one's X. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't even realize I had that much money. So that's how much educational value I have on social media, especially on X. So it's really fun. And now I see it's so important because like in today's age, people just, they're on social media, even though it's kind of taking over our lives, but it's like people are on it, that's just the reality of things.
It is. And there's so many, downsides to social media. I do think there's some good, but I do think there's a lot of bad, and especially now navigating with kids, with social media, like that scares me because we didn't have that when I was a kid. So there's definitely, and believe me, comes with a big following is not all of those people like you. The more of a following you have, the more people are coming for you right. If I had 100 followers, I wouldn't get, half the hate that I do. And I just have to realize that these people don't know me and, they're on social media, but it is, but honestly, like Twitter's the way I get my news now.
Yeah, totally. No, it's and that's the secret formula is like you have to get yourself known, on all platforms, even though it's kind of a scary thing, but because people are on it so much, like, I was doing research, apparently like 90% of people are on I think their screen time on their phones is like 6 to 7 hours or something like that each day, which is wild, So, and most of it's on social media, so it's kind of a good thing, but kind of a bad thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it definitely is. And I've been guilty at times. I try to have good boundaries with it. But sometimes you get sucked in and, but that seems to be the only one. And the other ones like Facebook and Instagram, I keep those private because I will post pictures, of my kids and all of that. I don't post anything about, like I might tell a story about them on Twitter, but I don't say like their names or post pictures just because I'm public and have a bigger following for a normal person, not like totally. A celebrity, but so yeah, I keep that. That's me and the rest
That's
of
your thing.
My family. Yeah.
Totally. So now I guess I want to go into next. So the next thing I kind of want to go over is the Command Your Brand, right? So I know you are I wouldn't say the face of publicists, but you are a big part in a lot of you're like a lot of people call between you and Rebecca the gold standard of publicists. Like you guys are like the top people that people go to get on shows, to get guests, to ask for other podcasters. Like you guys are like a opinion leader, you can say, or a thought leader in that space. So like for you, what do you find interesting about being a publicist? Like, what do you like, some people, like people who listen to it, they want to get on shows, they want to get on podcasts, but they're like, they struggle. I think they struggle with a lot of different things. What do you think people struggle with, do you think, the most in terms of getting on podcasts?
Oh gosh, Josh, I thought these were going to be easy questions.
Well, you deal with a lot of people. You deal with a lot of podcasters,
I do. Well, first of all, I will start out by saying that Rebecca, I'm calling her Rebecca, but I'm going to say Beck because she thinks that Rebecca. Does she yell at you about this too? If you call her Rebecca, then she thinks you're mad. So I'm going to say Beck because I don't want her to think that I'm mad at her.
Yeah.
But honestly, I mean, she was here before me and I learned a lot from her. And I think the thing about us is like neither of us will accept no.
Yeah. Yes.
For an answer. I know this isn't the question that you asked, but I'm just kind of talking about in terms of when you said, me and her, it's similar in that I don't know what do you mean? Like, so people like what they struggle to know about or getting on podcasts or?
Yeah. Like, so people, for people, it's sort of like, they don't know what to say. Like they don't, we have an exact system that we use. You could tell them about it. But for people who are listening that don't know our how things work, like they struggle with getting on the right shows or getting on the, how do I get on the right communication? Like, how do I get them to, answer? You know what I mean? How do I get them to look at my materials? Like, and maybe some of them don't even have materials. Like, what do you suggest with that? Like I guess tell me, like, what do you think with people who are trying to get on podcasts, who are not with us, let's say, who are trying to do on themselves, how can they help? How can we help? Or how, maybe, I don't know, maybe you can. How could they get on podcasts themselves, Like, what would you suggest to those people?
First of all, I would suggest if they want to, draw attention to a show is don't talk so much about yourself and what you can do. You want it to be about what value you can give to that show, because in the end, you're helping that show. It's not about you and propping you up how great you are, although you will be seen, as an authority in that field. Also, I think another thing is be realistic about the types of podcasts that you want to be on. One of the things I remember not learning, but hearing, I think it was Brielle said when I first started working here, was you'd rather have 100 people listening to a show that care about what you have to say than 10,000 people that don't, care about what you say. So it's like we, will get all different types of clients, health and wellness, entrepreneurs, people in insurance, all that. And, it's everyone's dream show is what? Rogan, right?
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, but it's true, which is great. Like, but also if you're in the insurance world and Joe Rogan says, I have this percent insurance, it doesn't matter that he has millions of listeners if they don't care what you're saying. So if I want to know about insurance or if I want to know about real estate investing, I'm going to a real estate investing show. I'm searching it. This isn't the radio where it's like, oh, it's on, I have to listen to it. This is like people are searching for this information. So I would say don't get caught up in, how big of a show it is. It's more about being in the targeting that is, geared towards you, and networking with the hosts, because a lot of these hosts have businesses of their own or connections of their own. And like I said, if you're an insurance professional on an insurance show, that will open more doors to people in the insurance world. Joe Rogan's probably not going to open doors to people in the insurance world. It'd be cool totally to go on.
Yeah, of course.
I'm not saying, I mean, everybody, but it's, that's everybody's dream show, which is great. But you just have to, I think, know who your audience is, who you're trying to help. It's not about you. It's about what value you're giving to others.
Absolutely right. And it's funny is, now that you mention that, a lot of people were like, I've always talked to, especially on the phone, they're like, oh, I want to get on the biggest podcast. I want to get like 10,000 listeners and 50,000 subscribers. And you're like, you're joking, right? Like, let me know there is one person besides Joe Rogan. That's, what I'm saying? So I think the reality is like, you have to, I think starting small is better than starting at nothing, and I think just building up from there is where you're going to get the media. You're going to get the experience, because in reality, no one's perfect as being a podcast guest. Maybe Joe Rogan is, maybe that's the best one. I don't know. He doesn't even try. There's no script at all. It's just very like nonchalance, like just being open, so that's, and that's why I find a lot of people kind of run into trouble. They're trying to shoot for the stars. They're trying to be I want to get on Joe Rogan. I want to get on tinfoil hat. I want to get on the biggest show possible. And you're like, yeah, right. Okay. Well, I don't know how we're going to help you with that, but we can certainly get on some other shows that relate to what you're trying to do, you know?
Well, and it's like, you don't want to go for that right off the bat because, you know, especially people that aren't used to doing a lot of podcasts or, you know, guesting, you learn to get in your groove the more you've gone on. And that's what I've heard from, you know, clients that didn't do podcasts and now are, you know, halfway or 3/4 through a program. And they're like, gosh, I feel like I'm so confident in what I'm saying. So you have to build up to that confidence. If you blow it on, you know, 2 big shows, then you just blew it, you know, and there's a lot more listeners.
Yeah, totally. It's like, yeah. No, go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I was going to say, it's kind of like, you know, on a radio show, like, you know, if you blow it for one, especially a big time radio show, you kind of screw it for the rest of it. You know, like I remember I've seen people who like, you know, really messed up on a show and then just could not get onto any really big shows after that because they messed up something really bad. So it's always good to practice something, right? Because I find that when you practice it enough, you'll have, like you mentioned, like you get into a groove of actually doing it so that you can, you know, be likable and you want to be on those shows, you know?
Right. And sound natural and basically just like a conversation like me and you are having. You know, a lot of people see it as like an interview and asking, and it's not really about that. It's about having a conversation and where it will lead you and people remembering and knowing who you are. So yeah, that's probably the advice I would give from what I've seen.
Yeah. And I guess one last question on this, like, you know, obviously you talk to a lot of podcasters and I know, you know, there isn't some secret thing about it, but like, you know, podcasters look for something, you know, they look for like when they say, yes, I want the person on the show. Like, what do you feel like the person looks for? Like, I know, cause you guys work in, you know, you guys critiquing, cause, you know, Command Your Brand, and you know this, Meghan, where we critique their media kits. We do like a whole, email of like how to portray the person, right? So for those people that are like, you know, trying to look for a specific podcast, like or a genre of podcast, like what do you recommend to people, or what could people do to get on those podcasts to get their attention? You know what I mean? From like, let's say from an email or something, you know?
Well, and this is actually, we say this in our onboarding, but it's one thing that I think is big is everybody loves a comeback story. So basically, you know, and I tried this, I failed, I came back and I did it, you know, for example, like maybe a client that's in investing and like, I, you know, I invested this way, but I did it all wrong and I lost all of my money, but guess what? I grew it back, you know, tenfold. Yeah. And that's for me, what people really, you know, are drawn in with is you don't want to come across as like, I'm perfect, I did everything right. You know, I just did everything right, because that's not life, and nobody has that. We've all made mistakes. So I think that is showing your faults, where you went wrong, but how you directed it and changed it. And now it leads into what they're doing now, I would probably say is something that a lot of podcast hosts, you know, look for.
Right. Well, awesome. Well, I really appreciate, I think it's really important that you give us this, because I think a lot of people want to get on podcasts. Some people are scared. Some people want to shit their pants, you know, no, excuse my French, but they're like, they don't know what to do, you know? And some people, they want to talk to a person to really give them the info and like find out what to actually do about it, you know? Cause like, that is a big issue. Like people nowadays are all stuck on their phones and their computers, and they actually can't have a live conversation. It's almost hard for them to have a live conversation, you know? Yeah. All I've found, it's funny, and this is very funny, it's only really the people that are millennials and maybe a bit older that actually can have a conversation. Like if you talk to teens now and like little younger, they're kind of like, you know, they're just talking about what's happening on social media, not really about like an actual conversation. You know what I mean?
Oh, they can't. I was talking to my niece who's in college, and everything's Snap. They Snapchat. Everything's Snapchat. Yeah. And I was like, well, like, I think I was asking her about a boy maybe. And she was like, I don't have his number. And I was like, huh? Like, don't you? She's like, that would be so weird if I asked for his number. I said, what? How do you communicate? She's like, on Snap. I was like, nobody has anybody's numbers. This is so weird. Like, how do you then get to know somebody? How do you start dating? Like, have you ever picked up a phone and talked to them? Do you go to dinner? Like, I was so shocked by that. So yeah, it's just when you said that, it just reminded me. I'm like, you don't even have people's telephone numbers. It's crazy to me.
Now everyone's like to me, say, what's your Insta, or what's your Facebook, or what's your WhatsApp? It's like, not even WhatsApp, but it's more like, what's your Insta? It's like kind of like there's no numbers anymore. It's just all about social media, So
yeah.
Anyways, so this has been awesome and enlightening, and thank you so much for your hospitality and knowledge, because we all appreciate it, because you guys, you're the you're like the Buddha of podcasting, like you guys are like, you're looked at as like, oh, we go to you for guests. Like, where's my next guest? You know what I mean? So I really appreciate you just talking to me and about asking these questions that probably might be burning for some people, but maybe not. But it's good that we ask them and we answer those questions. So I really appreciate your time. And, of course, to tell people this too. So people who are watching, we actually have a course, some people who can't, let's say, do the full program of a podcast guesting. We actually have a specific program that you can do it yourself, where you actually can learn it. We actually have a masterclass that teaches you how to be a guest speaker and a podcast host. And we also have a masterclass with that. So you also get a course, which you buy from our website. You actually can find out how to be a guest speaker and also a podcast host. And it's a whole gamut of things that we all use and we use in our podcasting industry. So you guys, when you guys are finished with this, you guys should just go check it out and find out more about it. And I really thank you, Meghan, for taking the time with me to answer people's questions. And we loved having you, and maybe we'll talk again soon. We'll talk at work all the time.
I know. I'm glad that I was able to get a spot on your podcast, because I know you're just, you're going to be killing it, and I'm going to be a nobody. But I'm going to say, I remember, Josh, I was like one of the first people on there.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Great. So thanks for asking me to come on. I really appreciate it. Yes,
of course. And of course, our audience thanks you. I'm going to answer for them. But, of course, if you guys want to check us out, you can book a call with me, answer any questions you may have about our show and about talking. Maybe if you want to talk to Meghan, maybe I'll put you in a little favor. So, book a call with us and check out our website, and we'll see you in the next one. Okay, guys? All right. Have a good one.